You want change, but you want it now. Everyone talks about the long game and learning to love the journey. And that's nice, but what about right now? Yeah, it's true, it's good to be able to wait and delay gratification, but there's also value in getting to your destination faster. Because the reality is, change is hard, it's uncomfortable, and it's difficult. And that means the longer your pursuit of change takes, the more chances you have to give up along the way. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Leviton, a board licensed coach who has been helping people just like you create positive change in their health, wealth, and relationships for over 10 years. Alan Watts said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." It's a marathon, it's a journey, it's an infinite game. We've heard these metaphors before. Whatever analogy you like, they all mean the same thing. This shit takes time. It's probably not news to you, but wouldn't it be swell if you could speed it up? So today, I'm going to give you the 3 steps that you need to 10x your personal growth so you can do in 6 months what would normally take 6 years. These are the tricks taught in courses and on stage by people like Tony Robbins and Alex Hormozy that cost tens of thousands of dollars. And this is the knowledge that I have personally spent well over 6 figures to accrue over the last decade. And I'm giving it all away to you right here for free. So stay tuned and get your notepad ready. Consistency is the name of the game. When it comes to creating change around the major pillars in life, which are health, wealth, and relationships, it's all about sustainability and longevity. You have to be consistent in order to get to the result, and you want to be able to sustain it forever afterwards. If it's not worth doing forever, I firmly believe that it is not worth doing at all. Because if you build on a faulty foundation, you're setting yourself up for disappointment down the road. And this is a big place that people stay stuck. They're so hyper-focused on getting to a result, they skip over the foundational pieces that are structurally important. They're building their house without the support beams in an effort to get it up quicker, which is a recipe for disaster. But that's not to say that speed is the enemy. Factually, success and results breed motivation. Anyone who works in the field of helping people change will tell you, the quickest way to get someone long-term results is by getting them quick wins. Quick wins build buy-in, and they get people to stick around long enough to actually achieve the real long-term results that they're after. So with weight loss, a lot of people try unsustainable, frankly, unhealthy methods to lose a lot of weight quickly. But that backfires and ultimately hurts them in the long run. Which is why you see so many people fail at diets and you hear statistics like 90% of people gain back the weight they lost plus some. Now compare that to a personal trainer who gets an apprehensive new client on a plan that lets them lose 4 pounds in the first week. 4 pounds might not be sustainable for the entire weight loss journey, but that initial win buys a level of psychological commitment that makes what's to come, which is weeks, months, maybe even years, feel more worth it. And this is why the concept of personal growth is so challenging. There is no light at the end of the tunnel like there are with other goals. There's no transformation that can be shown off on social media or that folks in your office will notice outright. It's all internal. So this is a long journey. It's the longest, honestly, since it's literally a lifelong pursuit. And it can be isolating because it's a personal journey of personal growth. And it's for all those reasons that you can see why people end up not starting or giving up when it comes to creating real, sustained life change. And that's exactly why, like the trainer in the example I just gave, I think it's important to start off with some quick wins. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do to create 6 years of change in the next 6 months. These are simple habit changes that if you implement them, will get you farther in your business, your health, your relationships, or whatever else you're trying to improve than all of the books that you've read in the last several years. One thing the most successful people have in common in every area is that they are lifelong learners. Successful people invest their time into learning. They read books, they watch educational content, they go to seminars and all different ways to keep learning for years and decades to come. So the first challenge that everyone faces when trying to create a positive life change is finding the time to learn. And since they can't find the time to learn or don't want to use the time to learn, they try to skip over that part and just go right into the thing without actually learning the ins and outs of it. And this is a fatal mistake. We're all running low on time. Everyone's infinitely busy. Everyone has a to-do list that never ends. But to try to skip over the learning portion is not going to get you there faster. And what you also can't do is just add more stuff to your to-do list that's already overflowing. So if you're already over busy and overtired, how can you find the time to learn what you need to be successful? Well, the trick is to create more time by turning your dead time into learning time. Dead time is time that feels and often is wasted, that we tend to just brush over and ignore as if we can't use it for anything productive. So a lot of times that's commuting, driving, biking, walking, taking public transportation. It's also doing the laundry, doing the dishes, mowing the lawn, waiting for a flight, waiting outside of your kid's karate class. You need to take from that time where you'd usually just be listening to music or scrolling or listening to a true crime podcast, and instead listen to audiobooks or podcasts around business or health or whatever it is your goal is. That alone will change your life. Longtime listeners of the show know that I read a lot of books. Over the last 5 years, I've read an average of 1 to 2 books per week consistently. And that's not with audiobooks, that's actually reading. So people assume that I have to carve out a lot of time in my day for reading. But it's actually the opposite. I didn't add a single extra pocket of time for reading. I just replaced things I was already doing with reading and adding in reading in dead times. So at night, when I'd usually sit in bed and scroll social media for a half hour before bed, I started reading. That's 30 minutes or so per day. I started to read while I walk on the treadmill. Not running, obviously that would be insane, but I want to get my steps in anyway, so I walk for 30 to 40 minutes, and as I do that, I read. This could also be an audiobook if you're walking outside. I also made a conscious decision that anytime I take a flight, I won't watch TV. And that might not seem like much, but every time I take a flight, it's 3 to 6 hours, and I do that a good handful of times per year. So now every time I take a flight, I don't watch anything, I only read. And I probably finish 5 or 10 books a year just going on flights around the country alone. So that's just me. Imagine a frequent flyer or someone who flies a lot for business. Again, that could change your life. Similarly, in the gym, I bring a book to read in between sets or when I'm resting. So people look at me like I'm crazy when I'm at the gym and I'm sitting on the bench reading in between sets. But the funny thing is, what else would I be doing in that time? If you look around the gym, what are most people doing in between sets? They're on their phones, they're scrolling. So I didn't have to add any more time to get to read more. I just found dead time, times on airplanes and on trains, in between sets in the gym, time that I would normally be scrolling. This is time that was not serving me, and I replaced it with a better habit that is. You take dead time that at best isn't moving you forward and is quite probably holding you back, and replace it with a learning skill that is related to your desired outcome, and that's exponential growth. The next trick is to make your goals social. And this doesn't mean to tell people about your goals or talk about them on social media. Some people will say, like, put it on social media or tell a friend, and that way you're more likely to do it, which, I mean, sure, I guess, maybe. Even though there have been interesting studies that have shown that talking about your goals on social media actually make you less likely to achieve them because it lulls your brain into a false sense of security. Basically, people get the good feeling from posting about it, and they get likes and comments of, you got this, congratulations. So much so that they actually don't need the dopamine that they would get from actually doing the goal. But even if that's not the case, I've always been of the opinion that if you're going to let yourself down, you're probably willing to let your social media friends down as well. Making your goals social is not about telling people about it. It's about turning the goal itself into a social event. This year, I've started running more than I ever have in my life. I used to hate running. I thought it was dumb, boring, tedious, literal torture. What changed? Well, I started running in run groups. I started running with nice people in nice places, and I had fun. When before, running was always something that I did after a workout on a treadmill in a gym by myself, I took that habit and switched it into something I could do in a social setting. So now of just doing it by myself in a gym on a treadmill, I was doing it outside in groups with people where we could talk, we'd get coffee after, and that made it into an enjoyable practice through the power of community. Because we humans are social creatures. We thrive in groups, and we literally wither away and die when we're alone. It's science. That's not my opinion. So accountability is part of it. There are days when my alarm goes off at 5:30 and I want to snooze it, but I know that the run group is going to be there and they might call me out about it. But it's deeper than that. It's about making that thing that I don't want to do more enjoyable. The first step in the easier framework is enthusiasm. Can you be enthusiastic about doing the habit? So for me, all my life, I was not enthusiastic about running. And in reality, I'm still not. I'm not one of those like, oh yeah, I just love running. It just feels so good. Like I still haven't gotten there. But I am enthusiastic about meeting people, talking to people, getting outside, networking, getting more sun on my skin, getting fresh air, getting green around me, seeing trees as I run through the park, making friends as an adult, which we all know is hard, if not impossible. So that's the power of taking a beneficial habit and making it social. Not only are you more likely to do it, but it makes it more enjoyable, so you want to do it more. And similarly, when I was in my 20s and I was drinking a lot, I pretty much did a full 180 overnight when I stopped going out, stopped partying, stopped drinking. And a lot of people would ask me how, especially my friends who were drinking a lot at the time, and they wanted to cut back as well. But the thing is, they would try to stop, but they would always find themselves back at the bar just a week later. The reason that I was successful in cutting those habits out around drinking and partying was I replaced that habit with a more alluring one. Because why do most people drink? I'd bet that most people, the number one reason is something to do with socialization. It's a social lubricant. It's to go out. It's to talk to people. That's why I drank. I wanted to be with people, and people were at bars, so I went to bars. So a lot of people will try to cut out drinking, and in turn, they end up cutting out the only socialization that they have outside of work at home, which then leads to boredom, and they're just sitting at home like, well, what the hell am I doing here? They text their friends, hey, want to grab a drink? And the cycle repeats. So what I did was find other social activities that didn't involve drinking, but were still social. At that time, for me, it was climbing and biking. And you might notice a trend here. A lot of the habits I'm inserting have a double benefit of being social and also health and wellness and fitness related. So now you're getting it. That's kind of the whole point. Because the second E in the easier framework, if you recall, is exponential. I want more bang for my buck out of the habits that I'm building. That's what makes them stick. So if you have no clue what I'm talking about, go to the episode Easier Habits. I've linked it to the show notes. It breaks down the whole easier framework system. You can even download the checklist for free. But that said, the point is that creating social ties to positive habits is a huge game changer. It makes you more likely to show up. That improves your consistency, and consistency is everything. It also gets you around like-minded people. And the people you spend time with at the bar are people who want to go to the bar. The people who you meet at early morning runs and cold plunge sessions and climbs and bike rides, well, that's the type of person that I want to connect with. That's the type of person that's more likely to grow with me, to motivate me to want to do more. A rising tide raises all ships, and the more growth-minded people you associate with, the faster and easier your growth will be. If you start putting yourself in those situations, that's how you get 6 years of growth in 6 months. When you make your growth social, you can't help but get better. And the third step to 10xing your growth and receiving more growth in 6 months than you would in 6 years is a little specific and a little out there, but stay with me. I want you to subscribe to more newsletters. I know what you're thinking, like, newsletters? Like, what is this, 2002? Newsletters are old, outdated. Like, I don't even check my email. And that's the whole point. Growth happens on purpose. It's deliberate. The man on top of the mountain did not fall there by accident. No one accidentally stumbles onto a life of health, wealth, and happiness. If you want to 10x your growth, you need laser focus. And you know what's not laser focused? Social media, streaming. And those also happen to be our two biggest time sucks. Remember dead time? Both social media and streaming are meant to suck you in. They literally get paid the longer you stay on. They make addicting content that has the primary goal of making you lose track of time and stick around. It's like how casinos are designed with no clocks and no windows just to keep feeding you drinks so that you stay there as long as possible. I mean, could you think of anything that would be less optimal for your growth? A lot of people talk about reducing phone time, reducing scrolling, reducing social media. But going back to the last point, what are you replacing it with? Our phones are with us, for better or for worse. And they can be powerful tools if we use them properly. And that's why we enter with the humble newsletter. The newsletter is the antithesis of the infinite scroll hellscape. A good newsletter is short, it's digestible, it's made to read and then delete and then go on with your day. It is not meant to keep you stuck. It is meant to deliver a message, usually in a short, punchy way, and then leave you alone until the next one. I think newsletters have a bad rap or have left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because they associate them with like junk or spam mail or just other BS mail that you have to ignore. And it can be that if you're doing it wrong. But I'd ask you, where do you see more junk these days? In your email inbox or on social media? I know the answer for me. So I suggest signing up for a few key newsletters that you trust and follow. And yes, you could do this with social media. There are good content creators on TikTok and YouTube, but the issue is the algorithm. Again, it's meant to suck you in, to keep you hooked. So even if you open YouTube or TikTok to go look at one of the good content creators that's giving good information, the next thing it feeds you is to keep you stuck. So the chances of you not getting distracted and not staying for longer than you wanted are very low. And newsletters won't do that. So you can find specific newsletters about whatever you're trying to improve: business, finance, health, whatever. And I can recommend a few, but again, the point is that you might have a time when you're waiting online for groceries, or you want to do something to distract yourself for 5 minutes while you're waiting for something, and you want to pull out your phone. And if you can switch the habit from opening social media to opening a newsletter that is propelling you forward, that is again going to take away of that negative stimulus and add a positive. So some of the newsletters I'd recommend would be The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. It's probably the greatest philosopher of our time. It's a daily newsletter with Stoic wisdom. There's Brain Food, a newsletter from Shane Parrish, who hosts a podcast called The Knowledge Project. And I'll also throw mine in there. I have a weekly newsletter, Change Made Easy, that gives you 5 tips around making changing your habits, behaviors, and routines a little bit easier every week. So when you subscribe to newsletters like that, it will take your inbox from a place of dread to a place where you actually want to open it and look at it. And that also means unsubscribing from all the crappy newsletters and spam email, or I would suggest just making a new email account where you only subscribe to helpful newsletters. So I have an email that I open every morning that's only newsletters that I want to read. So every morning I go in and I got hit with 4 or 5, sometimes 10 good newsletters, and I have anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes of quick reads that I can do in the morning, I can do while I'm waiting at the doctor, or any time. But now I have something in place of the shitty infinite scroll that usually would have been taking up that time. Every time you load up a newsletter that you know is curated specifically for the purpose of helping you become better and helping you grow, you're also taking away from an unhelpful habit and adding a habit that will be better, which is again, exponential return. Imagine the compound interest that could have in 6 short months. So your action step for this week is threefold. 1 for each tip I gave. I usually don't like to overload you with more than 1 action step, but if you're looking for 6 years of growth in 6 months, you're going to need to push it a little hard. So step 1 is turn your dead time into learning time. Put a book in your bag. And the next time you're in a place where you have nothing to do, pull it out. On your next flight, bring a book instead of paying for Wi-Fi to stream movies. Step 2, make your growth social. Find a run club, a book club, a writer's group, a social coffee, work chat, and meetup. Whatever. Find things that you want to do and make them fun by doing them with other people. And step 3, subscribe to the 3 newsletters I mentioned: Daily Stoic, Brain Food, and Change Made Easy. I've linked to all of them in the show notes. And if you want a bonus, unfollow 10 accounts on social media, or ideally delete the app that you spend too much time on completely off of your phone. This will give you a better chance of going to the beneficial habit more often and less chance of getting sucked back into the negative time wasters you're trying to avoid. By implementing these 3 habits, you'll see more growth in the next 6 months than you would in 6 years. If you want to grow exponentially and 10x your growth, you can do that. It's possible, but it takes deliberate action and it will take some sacrifice. That's fine though, because you come out on the other side with more skills, more knowledge, and more confidence. And those things then continue to compound on themselves. To me, it was like leaving the matrix. Once I started getting better, I never wanted to stop. And you'll be able to feel it too with the steps I laid out in this episode. That's change made easy. If you're really passionate about making this change stick, then I just have to remind you about my free weekly newsletter. Don't miss out on joining the thousands of change seekers just like you who get a curated list each week of 5 educational, informative, and inspiring pieces of content that will help you on your quest for change. Go to the notes of whatever app you're listening on and click the link that says free newsletter now. And you'll be signed up to get free tips sent straight to your inbox every Friday that will help make your change journey easier. All you have to do is click free newsletter right now. Go to that link, and I'll see you back here every Tuesday and Thursday for new episodes of Change Made Easy.